After completing this lesson, you will be able to understand work sharing and work in a collaborative environment. The objective domains covered are 4.1G, apply work sharing display modes to a view, and 5.2A, understand why work sharing features are used. In larger projects, several team members may need to work together or collaborate within the same Revit project. Work sharing enables multiple users to access the same Revit project and file. You can use a local area network or a wide area network system or collaborate on the cloud. When collaboration is enabled, you can divide the project into work sets. For example, you may split the model into steelwork and concrete, or perhaps down movement joints. Careful consideration should be given to how a model is divided into work sets. Perhaps by level and structure type, in this case the roofing steelwork and skybridge. Or perhaps by structural movement joints, in this case the west wing of the structure. Go ahead and open up the model 035 using work sharing features. Ensure that you open this from the folder 035 Central Model. The model opens up in the 3D view. Our first task is to enable work sharing. To enable work sharing, select the Collaborate ribbon, and on the Collaborate ribbon, select Collaborate. In the Collaborate dialog box, you have two options. You can collaborate within your own network using a local area network or a wide area network, or you can collaborate on the cloud with BIM 360 Document Management. In our example, we're going to select within your network. Go ahead and select OK. Work sharing has now been enabled. You'll now note that Worksets is active on the ribbon. Let's go ahead and set up some worksets. Select the Worksets command, and you're presented with the Workset dialog box. By default, two worksets are created, Shared Levels and Grids and Workset 1. So the levels and grids are automatically added to Shared Levels and Grids, and everything else is on Workset 1. We're going to create some new worksets. Go ahead and select New. Here we can name our workset, so we'll start here by creating a workset for the East Wing. And then select OK. We'll create another workset for the roofing steel. And another one for the West Wing. Go ahead and select OK to the Worksets dialog box. You may be prompted to make the last workset active. In our case, we'll say no. Each element within the model can now be assigned the relevant workset. First, we're going to record some selection sets. On the Manage ribbon, click Load Selection. Let's begin with East Wing. We'll select East Wing and then click OK. Note in the Properties palette we have multiple categories selected, but the common property here is the workset. And here we can now select our relevant workset. So in this case, this is the East Wing. Now, of course, we may have openings going through different worksets here. So this is just warning us that the opening partially cuts its host. We'll go ahead and select OK. Let's go ahead and load the selection set for roofing steel. On the Manage ribbon, select Load Selection and select Roof Steelwork. Once again in the Properties palette, you'll note that we have multiple categories selected, but again here we can select our relevant workset. So in this case here, it's going to be Roof Steel. Finally here, we'll load the selection for the West Wing and then assign the relevant workset. Okay, so our worksets are now populated with the correct elements. To visually check that we have the correct elements on the correct workset, we can use Work Sharing Display. On the View Control toolbar, select Work Sharing Display, and then select Worksets. Each workset is now represented with a different colour. These colours can be reviewed or changed and edited. To do this, select Worksharing Display, and then select Worksharing Display Settings. In the Worksharing Display Settings dialog, on the Worksets tab, you'll note here that we can visually see each workset. If we want to change colours, we can select the colour, and of course we can select a new colour from the colour palette. Go ahead and select OK, and switch Worksharing Display off. We're now ready to create our central model. On the Quick Access toolbar, select Save. We are notified that this is the first time that the project has been saved since the worksharing was enabled. This model will now become the central model. Normally, this would now be on a file server somewhere. Let's go ahead and select Yes. Notice on the Quick Access toolbar that the standard Save tool is now grey or inactive, and instead here we have Synchronize and Modify Settings. This is now the central file, and this is quite an easy way to visually see whether we're working in a local file or a central file. Go ahead and close down this file. Select File, and then select Close. Each user now creates their own local file. To create the local file, select Open. Browse to the central model and select the central model. In the lower half of the dialog box, you'll note that Create New Local is already ticked, so we can go ahead and say Open. The local file is now open. The file name is the same as the original file name, underscore, and then the user's name. By default, when I save this, this will be saved into my documents. If we take a look on the Quick Access toolbar, we'll now see that we have two different saves. I have Save, which will save to my local file, or Synchronize and Modify Settings that will publish my changes up to the central model. I'm now going to relinquish all of my ownership of the worksets. To do this, select the Collaborate ribbon, and you'll note on the Collaborate ribbon I have a tool here, Relinquish All Mine. Just to show you what this is going to do, let's first select Worksets. So you'll see that we have our various different worksets displayed in the Workset dialog box, and you'll notice the owner is still myself. What I'm now going to do is relinquish the ownership of all of these elements. To do this, I can select Relinquish All Mine. And now, if I select Worksets again, you'll now notice that I'm not the owner of any of these items. However, if I want to take ownership of shared levels and grids, I can now make that editable, and you can now see I have ownership of that workset. Let's go ahead and select OK. So now a colleague has opened up a session of Revit and also browsed to the same local file. So we're now going to see what happens when a colleague wants to edit a particular area of the model. So here they're going to select the roof, and you'll notice we have an icon attached to this element. If I select this icon, this will make the element editable. So now what happens if I also wanted to select and edit that same roof? Well, let's take a look. So now if I select the roof in my software, and then I select the icon, Make Element Editable, you'll notice that I get an error down here. This is essentially saying that I can't actually edit this until my colleague resaves it and relinquishes the element. Notice here, of course, I could place a request through to my colleague to show my intention that I did want to change this. However, I could have seen that my colleague had ownership on this by using my work sharing display. Here, if I select Owners, I can now see that the roof is red. Now, this will all work in real time, so now we're going to switch back to my colleague and we'll see my colleague take ownership of another element. So my colleague is now going to take ownership of this floor slab here. So once again, they can select that element and then select Make Element Editable. And now when I view my machine here, I can now see that that floor slab is also owned by my colleague. So now my colleague is going to go ahead and make a change to the roof slab here. He's simply going to change the pitch. So in the Properties palette, he makes a change of the roof to 12 degrees. My colleague then saves local and can then also save to central. Notice that we can also put a comment in for this change, and then select OK. Here, I'm going to now switch work sharing display off, but you may notice that my roof doesn't appear to have changed. This is because I need to reload the latest changes. To do this, select the Collaborate ribbon, and you'll notice here I can reload latest. Note now that I can see the change to the roof slab. If I wanted to review the history of the central file, I could also do that. I could select Show History, then I could go ahead and pick the central file and select Open. And I can see very clearly here that my colleague has made a change and an edit to the model at this date and time, and has also added comments here.